Hey everybody, I've been sitting here for about half an hour trying to get Butterbean on video eating this Ramshorn Snail I just put in his tank, and I just was in there doing some maintenance. I vacuumed out a lot of the red slime cyanobacteria that was in there, so he has been just pacing up and down on the back glass. He's been very irritated with me, and while I was sitting in the chair in front of his tank, he simply refused to come over and eat the snail. He saw me put it in there. He just kept turning his back to me and facing the back glass and pacing up and down, which is what he does to let me know he's agitated. So I finally gave up, decided he was not in the mood to be videoed tonight and was not going to cooperate, and I began thinking about what else I could video. My Congo tetras are spawning at the moment, so I was deciding to go around and turn some lights out and get some video of that. I'm still hoping to when I'm done this little video. And I look over, and sure enough, he's found the snail, he's zeroed in on it, and I did not get to video the hunt, which is what I wanted to get on video, with him sort of snooping around and checking out all the nooks and crannies and making his way over to it and finding it. It's not exactly like it's hidden, it's right there in the middle of the tank. But he still looks around for it, and he still makes his way up to it and cautiously approaches it, and he usually circles it a few times to get his bearings on where the opening is, you know, where the meat and flesh is versus the shell. And I missed all that. I was walking around turning some lights out, but we're still getting plenty of action here. I did get in there today and vac out a lot of that red slime cyanobacteria. If you follow along with this tank or you watch my videos regularly, you'll know that this tank always has a ton of that red slime in there. I'll go ahead and pan out here for a minute. So you can see I got in there and I scraped the glass down pretty well, and I vacuumed out a lot of that red slime cyanobacteria that was on the gravel. So now we get a little bit better look when Butterbean is down here on the gravel. It's not so ugly seeing him eating on top of all that filthy, gross looking cyanobacteria. Again, I gotta say that that's not actually harmful to the animals themselves or itself, but it can start doing things with your oxygen and CO2 levels, provided you let it get in there too badly. And I know I've got it in there pretty bad. That's why I got in there and got it out tonight. It was getting a little out of control. I am still working on a new tank. This fish here and his companions, that little Bumblebee Goby and the 4 other Bumblebee Gobies that are in there, are going to get moved over into a 20 standard. So he's going to have the same volume of water. It's just not going to be a long open top tank anymore. It's going to be more of a traditional looking tank. And I'm probably going to plant it a little more heavily. I might even build a little bit more cave structure in there. I definitely want to give him a place that he will be happy. And puffers are very intelligent fish, and as such, they need, I guess you could call it enrichment. And enrichment is basically just something that gives them an activity to do to keep them happy, for lack of a better word. I know happy's not quite right, but for the purposes of this conversation, we'll use that word. So they get bored very easily. They're very intelligent. They need stuff to do. They need stuff to look at. It's not a bad idea from time to time to get in there and sort of rearrange the tank, change the decor up on them. Just, you know, keep it interesting for them. Keeping a fish like this in a bare, empty tank with like one fake plastic plant in the middle of the tank is just really not good for them. It really stresses them out. And they get bored. And when they get bored, one of the things they will do is they will pace the glass, like Butterbean here does when he's agitated with me. You can also tell when they're stressed out. Their belly will get really dark gray, even approaching black if they get really stressed out. So it's never good when you see them with the really dark belly. Now his is a little bit dark right now, but that is because I was just in there doing a gravel vac and actually literally vacuuming gravel physically out of the tank, not with a, you know, a gravel vac, but with an actual siphon. There we go. I knew he'd get a hold of it sooner or later. These guys are adorable, but they are fearsome predators, and they are messy, messy eaters. Don't ever think you're going to get a puffer in the tank and not have just meat and pieces of shell and everything else floating around in the tank. They're really, really messy eaters. And as such, I never bother to directly, deliberately feed my gobies in there. I always just rely on the fact that he's going to kick up enough meat from spitting it out and shell debris and stuff like that, that the gobies will be fine. I suppose every once in a while when I'm feeding him his, he just spit out a piece of cyanobacteria. I guess every once in a while when I'm feeding him his freeze-dried krill, which is actually the staple of his diet, I do crumble some of it up as I put it in there, so it's, you know, free floating, and I do see the gobies go after that. So I suppose I am sort of doing that deliberately to make sure some pieces in there are small enough for the gobies to get. But really, he is just such a messy eater. They usually follow him around when he's eating. They remind me of like seagulls behind a ship, you know, where all the food and everything's getting churned up, and they just follow along and take their share. The gobies tend to do that with him. They sort of tag along behind him and just sort of eat his messy leavings. So that's it. He's probably just going to poke around the tank now because he knows there's food in there. He doesn't know how much I put in, but he knows I put something in. So he's probably going to go ahead and look for any more for a little while. Or he might even go work on that one a little more. There might be some meat left down inside of it. So if you watched my video of him the other day, you will remember he was as fat as could be, and I said he must have really gotten into something and found himself a good stash of snails in there or whatever. So you can see today he's much more normal size. So that was indeed just him. You know, he found some food in there and gorged himself on something. Puffers can get really big really fast because of the, you know, elastic nature of their body. They can really do themselves harm by overeating. So if you do have a puffer, they will beg and beg and beg. They're like puppy dogs when it comes to food, but don't overfeed them. Keep them nice and plump and well-rounded. Keep them nice and healthy, but don't let them just eat until they pop, because they practically will. They'll just blow up with food. So there's another little edition of Butterbean in his brackish tank. I hope you enjoyed. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. That way you won't miss anything I've got coming up. I am going to continue my series of putting that other tank together. There's not a lot going on with it right now. I'm just sort of gradually increasing the salinity in it. But within the next day or two, I should be shooting a video about that very thing. And I'm going to get to talking about the salinity of the water and why it needs to have marine salts in it and so on and so forth. So look forward to that. So thanks for watching this one, and I will see you real soon on the next one.